Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to episode 6. I'm pretty sure it's episode 6. Before we start, I was going to say an interesting pinball story. It's not that interesting. So I ordered some. I basically ordered these for my Deadpool last year, and they arrived last week. I meant to put them on the forum, on the threads. Look, quite, whatever, what came through my letterbox today. I mean, they took 8 months to arrive. And I feel a little bit bad because I did contact the company and said, "Oi, where's my throwing stars?" And they said that they'd sent them. I didn't believe them anyway. So clearly it was a problem with the post. A little bit longer than I'm prepared to wait, certainly. Anyway, today's guest, I could tell you lots of things about today's guest, and particularly how he got in touch and the things we've been discussing. But there's a more recent story than that. So when I spoke with Craig the other day, I thought, you know what? I think I need to get a couple of older, or at least one older machine. I made the decision. I'm going to try and get in my collection one older machine, which I then sort of rotate. Not literally, of course. I'm not going to stand it with its legs pointing upwards. But, I'll keep it for a bit, play it, enjoy it, get it out, get another one in. I decided to do that. And it was really him talking about Flash Gordon and a shot on No Good Gophers. So I've been keeping my eye on things, and a machine came up. And funny enough, I know it's not a really old machine, but it's a Spiderman. It's a Stern Spiderman. But I thought, you know what, I'll get that, and hopefully I'll enjoy that for a little bit, and that can begin my journey of maybe getting some older ones in. So I didn't know what to expect from a Spider-Man, and actually this has just happened in the last few days. I've been talking to our next guest, Ian, for more than that. So I'm going to bring him in now. He'll be familiar to many of you. And Ian, welcome, my friend.
As if by magic, Spider-Man's behind me.
Exactly.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
What can I expect from Spider-Man then?
A lot of fun. I think it's probably one of Stern's best machines so far. Yeah, it's one of the older ones from, I think, 2007. The theme for me personally does absolutely nothing. I'm not into superhero stuff, Marvel stuff, anything like that. I've not seen any of the films, the comics, anything of Spider-Man, but the game itself is just mega. It's Steve Ritchie game. It's got this classic Steve Ritchie flow. If you like his games, you'll love it. There's a lot of combos, a lot of. For me, it's one of the great games because you can run everything at the same time. There's a lot of stacking. There's you can run modes, multi-balls, all the different villains at the same time. It's chaotic. And it's great fun. It's an original you're getting, isn't it? It's not the Vault edition.
It's not the Vault. No, it's the original one.
Yeah, I prefer the artwork on the Vault. But I prefer the call outs on the original.
Is that the only difference? The game is basically the same apart from the artwork.
Yeah, the rule set's exactly the same. The modes are named differently, but in terms of how they shoot, what they award, it's all the same. But yeah, it's the only machine I've had in the house a second time. It's not actually mine. It's been loaded in from Darren. Hopefully I'm going to have it a while and maybe beat his scores. He won't be too happy if I do that.
Is Darren going to watch this?
We'll see. He did say if you beat my scores in it, I'll be taking it back. So I might have to be quite careful with that. But
fair enough.
It's an absolute great game.
So you've had that twice.
Yeah, I had an original. It was the second machine I ever bought, and funnily enough, I bought that from Darren as well. And sold it back to Darren. So we've got quite the relationship going on with Spider-Man. So yeah, it was the second pin I owned. I was sad to see it go. I had it quite a long time. But yeah, it's such a good game.
Well, that leads into the obvious question, which what was your first game, and did you buy it from Darren?
No, the first one I had was Creature from the Black Lagoon, and that was from. Like many people's first machines, from Chris Brimacombe. Chris Brim?
Yes. Did he do, I might have this wrong, did he do Judge Dredd?
No, Chris Brim is actually who I bought it off.
Oh, sorry.
Keep up.
Keep up. Okay. No, Darren obviously did Judge Dredd though, didn't he?
What, do you mean as in designed it?
Yeah, no, I'm joking. Yeah. No, they had the same designer, did they not? Creature from the Black Lagoon and Judge Dredd.
I think so.
I think they might have done.
I think
they
so.
might have done.
But yeah, I got Creature off Chris. I didn't gel with it too well. So I actually swapped it with someone else I know for a Twilight Zone for a while. I think I got the better side of that swap, and then say the next machine I got was Spiderman. It was interesting getting machines up and down the stairs at the time, something that I don't have to do anymore, thank Christ. But yeah, that was the first game I got off Chris. This will probably upset you, but again, we all know that machines were cheaper back in the day. Yeah. And this was 2014. I think it cost me £1,500, and it was a nice. It wasn't an absolute mincer, but it was in really nice shape.
Yeah, I can't really complain on this particular deal, that's for sure. But it's certainly the a hot topic at the moment is the price of them. How did you manage to get the pins up and down the stairs then? How did that go for you? What was your technique?
Make some friends and get them to help. It was usually a case of head off, playfield out, take it up in 3 pieces, and then put it back together at the top of the stairs. I do remember when I borrowed Twilight Zone and Paul and Andre came around to help me move up the stairs. They thought I was absolutely mad trying to get a Twilight Zone up the stairs, but we managed it. I do remember Andre just taking the playfield out by himself and lifting it upstairs by himself, which was quite the sight to behold at the time. But yeah, it was. I'm actually sat in the room now that I had built a few years ago to put pinballs in, and it's on the ground floor, which is much safer and much easier for putting pins in and out of the house.
And I bet it is. Are you out of the pinball buying game now? Are you? Is that because I saw you've had quite a few. You've had quite a few pins over the years, haven't you?
Yeah, the last one I owned was an Aerosmith. Bought it, sold it, and unfortunately, not long after I sold it, the roof of the house started leaking. So most of the money that was made from selling Aerosmith went to home improvements, shall we say. So the pin budget sort of went out the window, really.
Well, you're lucky you had sold it before the roof leaked. And if the roof leaks, it leaks on the pinball machine. I take it, just so as Darren is aware, is that roof above the pinball machine leak free?
It wasn't this roof. It was the flat roof at the front and back. I mean, Darren knows this place, so he knows it's safe and sound.
Sure. How was Aerosmith? Yeah, I don't hear about that game very much at all. You don't really see him come up. It's but I think it's a good looking game. Yeah,
it's I wouldn't say it's one of the absolute best, but it's a bit of a hidden gem, to be honest. I quite liked it. I do recall my daughter really got on with it as well, and she was only 3 years old at the time, but I think she just preferred to dance to the music while I was playing it at the time. Have you ever seen the Jackie Toy Box multi-ball on Aerosmith? Because that's really good.
Never seen one, never played one. Honestly,
So it's a bit of a risk reward multi-ball where you can start it with 3 balls, or you can risk it a bit more and go for a 6-ball multi-ball. And there's quite a cool toy in it where there's a toy box at the back of the playfield that when you light the lock, the toy box opens up and you can shoot a ball into a lock shot, which then sends the ball in the air into the toy box, which is quite cool. And then once the multi-ball starts, all of the balls come out of the toy box at the same time. And the more balls you've got going in multi-ball, the more points you'll get from your jackpots.
Well, that sounds like a good shot. That's a pinball moment, that shot.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So you lock the ball and basically there's like a little up kicker, which fires the ball, say, through the air and into the toy box. Sometimes it does miss, as you'd expect, and can go anywhere from that. It's a little bit like if you've seen the Stern Indiana Jones, where you can put all the balls in the arc and then they all come out at once as well. Similar to how that starts.
Is that a good game? Sorry, I'm just so random on this because I'm just finding out about pinball myself. Is the Stern Indiana Jones a good game? I played the Williams one. I was blown away. I was blown away by it.
If you've got a Stern Indy, the best thing you can do is get Dr. Pinball's mod for it, where it actually plays like the Bally Williams game. Which again, I borrowed a Stern Indy, and it had the Bally code on it, you could say, and it's a much better game with that than Stern could do out of the factory.
Are the shots similar then on it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the shots are the same, but he's customized it so the rules of the Williams game are in the Stern game.
Oh, I didn't know that. So basically, Stern almost made a remake, but
I wouldn't. No, they didn't make a remake, but Dr. Pinball's kind of did. So he got.
okay.
I think it was a P-Rock system. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong on that. And he sort of recoded the whole game with the rules, the call outs, the DMD animations. So he's taken that from the Williams game and put it into a Stern machine, which is incredibly clever.
It never ceases to amaze me. What was Neil talking about? Was it the Cactus Canyon as well, which had this massive upgrade on it or something?
Yeah, that's the continued. Yeah,
that's right. And just what people do, these codes, these animations, even when you get these Spike 2 games and someone's woven all the Jurassic Park footage into the stuff, and if you look, you see Davey on the you see what he's done with the creature from the Black Lagoon and the diner, whatever it is. It is a diner, isn't it? What's in the creature from the Black Lagoon? It's a snack bar. It's a snack bar, right?
Yeah,
amazing.
There's also a lot of the Stern games have got. I don't know if it's done the Jurassic Park one, but the Cleland mods. So when I had Walking Dead, the first thing I did with it was to put his sound mod on there, because it's so much better than what Stern did with the original call out, whether it was due to licensing or something like that. But he just took the game and just give it that extra that next level, if you would.
Are you? I'm going to try and get this out there now because I sort of embarrassed myself with Craig, really. He said he went and played in a competition at Pinfest, and I said, "Oh, how'd you get on?" "Oh, well, I won it." Well,
he usually does.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I didn't know. Are you good at playing pinball?
I'm all right.
There you go.
I'm all right. I've had a few fluffs and I've had a few good results. I wouldn't say I'm anywhere near the level of the likes of Craig or Andy or Stormy, players like that, but on my day I can do all right.
So what's so obviously your pinball life at the moment is you got Darren's fine machine there, which you're not getting anywhere near the score on, as you politely suggested. What do you do? Are you going to clubs? Are you playing in competitions? How do you get your pinball fix, basically?
Well, obviously the last couple of years there's not been a lot going on, sadly. I mean, the best part of pinball for me was always the Northern Pinball League, which is, I think Craig spoke about it the other day. You've got your regional leagues throughout the country. So you've got the Scottish, the Northern, Irish, Midlands, Southeast and London leagues. And it's just a great day to meet up with your friends and have a bit of pinball. Yes, it is competitive, but it's not overly serious. In the North, I think we're quite spoiled in terms of the number of people who are willing to host the leagues, and the collections that we've got up here are just absolutely second to none, really. And it's just a nice, relaxed, competitive atmosphere. We do get quite a lot of people turning up for the Northern League meets as well. I think we usually average around maybe 30, 35. I think sometimes it depends on the host machines whether people turn up or not. Some people just want to turn up and play the latest games, and you can't blame them for that. No. You go to David Dutton's place, and he's got machines. He's got electromechanical, solid state DMD games of all eras. He's probably got one of the nicest collections in the country, and it's just a great league to take part in.
How many machines do you need to have to host a league event?
I think the rule is a minimum of 4.
Right.
But I think usually most of the ones that we go to have at least maybe 10, up to maybe 15.
I guess you've got to be able to get 30 people in your house as
well. Yeah, it does help to have a big place, obviously, or have a lot of room outside and hope for some good weather and get a barbecue on, something like that. So, yeah, it's a lot of people put a lot of effort into hosting them. David Dutton does a lot of effort in running the league as well. And for me personally, it's my favourite part of pinball. It's just a great social get together for a lot of people. We do, I think it's 6 rounds each year, and then obviously the better you do, you might qualify for the league finals, which take place at Daventry. If there was a league this year, which obviously hasn't happened, there would have been league finals at Pinfest this year, which we had the last time Pinfest happened. We had the league finals there as well. which happened on the Saturday. And obviously that was you had the league final machines, which was sort of taken like a block of machines to one side, and then you had your other competition machines sort of on the stage area, and then you had all your free play machines elsewhere around the hall.
Is there a regional rivalry? You say, that the leagues and whatnot. Is there a regional rivalry between the leagues?
I mean, the North's the best. There's no doubt about that.
That's the answer I was looking. I didn't want you to pull any punches. Yeah, great.
Yeah, I mean, there's great players. No matter which league you go to, there's great players. I mean, we've got some. The Midlands have got some. All leagues have got great players. And it's interesting. Obviously, when it gets to finals time, all those great players will meet in A or B division and play against each other to see who's the best that season.
I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by this. Last night, I very, very nearly went to Flip Out last night because they have a competition on Thursday nights, which I didn't know. And Andy, who was on episode 1, said, "Oi, get up there." Actually, I'm going to tell the story. I'm sorry, Andy, by the way, in advance. Andy said, "Get up there and play and get on, just post a score," because for all the reasons that Craig described. So Andy took his girlfriend up there, who has only been playing pinball since she's been with Andy, and she beat him in the tournament. So he was a bit. I found that highly amusing. I think he came.
Yeah.
I think he came 22nd out of 28th or something yesterday. So I thought that was quite good. But so watch out, because he's bringing her to Pinfest as well, and I think they're both hopefully going to enter into that. Do you get to as many as you possibly can? You do like to play, because I'm fascinated with this competitive aspect of the pinball scene.
I used to until fatherhood came along. When I first sort of got into the competition side of it, I've always been one of those people who likes to have a hobby to compete with. When I was really young, I used to go 10 pin bowling all the time.
Sure.
Did that twice a week. Used to play for the Lancashire junior team, which is a funny thing. It was sort of a little gateway into pinball, really, because sort of in the early to mid 90s, bowling alleys were just a haven for pinball machines back then.
Of course, yes.
But our local bowling alley, they had an Adams Family, Twilight Zone, and a Creature from the Black Lagoon. But the funny thing was, I never used to play them, because the mindset was back then that the arcades are for the kids and the pinballs are for the grown-ups. So we never used to play the pinball machines back then, but we always used to see them, and it was one of those things where it was a little bit of a mystique about them, because you never played them, but all the adults would. And there was a few good players, you could say. You always know when you were bowling when somebody was playing Adams Family and got a jackpot, let's say.
Sure.
You could hear it all the way around the bowling alley, and you saw, who's on the machine right now, So I did bowling, and then I went kart racing for 12 years. If people think pinball's a silly, expensive hobby, then it's got nothing on motor racing.
Sure.
Absolutely nothing on that. Because the problem is, you can go racing and you can't sell your karts for the same money that you pay for them, like you can do with pinball machines. And obviously the running costs are a lot higher. So we did that for 12 years, did quite well, and then we stopped. And then it was a few years before I sort of got into pinball. If we could just sort of talk about Northern Lights for a few minutes as well, if you don't mind.
You talk about what you want.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
But
so
tell us how you got into pinball, because I'm very interested in that.
Yeah. So when I was a little bit younger, we used to go to the Play Expo events, like in 2012, 2013. And these are sort of quite large scale events that Northern Lights Pinball were a small but very important part of. So it was basically sort of a pin fest within a larger event. So they would have pinball machines, arcade machines, consoles, cosplay, all sorts of different things under one roof. And they were huge events. So I used to go with a couple of friends, and we just go around. All of a sudden, you go into a certain area of it, and there's 150 pinball machines. You're sort of like, wow, where the hell did all those come from? Because you're only used to seeing them in bars and places like that. And usually when you see them out and about, they're not in the best condition. So it doesn't really give a good representation of how pinball is. But all these machines have come from private collectors, and they're in great condition. They play really well. And there's over 100 of them all together. So we used to go to these events and just play pinball all day. So sort of got to a year later. I lost my job, and I've been working there for 10 years, so I've got a nice little payout. And there was a tribunal. We got a payout from that as well. And as you do, once you have a tribunal and you all turn up, what do you do afterwards? You all go to the pub, don't you? So we're all sat in the pub after this tribunal, and everybody was talking, what are you going to spend your money on? So people, I'm going to do it my car, I'm going to go on a holiday. I just turned and I said, I'm going to buy a pinball machine. And sort of everybody looked at me as if I've got two heads or something like that.
Yeah.
You're going to buy a what? So I sort of looked into it a bit more, and I went to one of these other events. It was a retro revival event in Wolverhampton. So I sort of went there with the main goal of, I'm going to go and talk to these pinball machine owners, and I'm going to hound them and find out what it's like to buy one, what it's like to own one, to fix one, etc. So I got talking to a couple of guys there, like Steve Paget, Mark Craven, that sort of pointed me in the direction of the forum. And that's where I sort of put a post out saying I was after a pinball machine. And Chris Brim got in touch with me saying I've got a creature from the Black Lagoon for sale. And it's sort of kind of like with everybody else, it snowballed from there.
Yes.
Everybody used to say, they breed. You buy one, you'll buy another.
Yeah.
I bought one. Very suddenly I had two. The wife wasn't too impressed, but what can you do? And but yeah, sort of been going to the Northern Lights part of Play Expo. I wanted to get a bit more involved, because it's great having these people who will put pinball out there for the public to play. Yeah. Because Pinfest is great. It's an event for pinball people. Joe Punter will come along as well, but it's for pinball people at the end of the day.
Sure.
Whereas what we do, we'll put pinball out to the public.
Is this still happening? It still goes
event.
On? COVID permitting.
Yeah, so all I'll say at the moment is once Pinfest is done and dusted in the rearview mirror, there'll be an announcement about the next thing that Northern Lights will be doing.
When was the last one then?
The last one was 2019, and that was at the GMAX in Manchester.
Yeah, which is big place. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we had maybe we didn't get as much space there as was what we used to at Event City, but we maybe had 60 machines there. Phil Palmer, as he always does, he lent a few brand new games from Pinball Heaven, new out of the box, straight into the show.
Fantastic.
Can't fault the guys for what we do. But yeah, it's about getting pinball out to the public and making people aware of it, because a lot of people who come to those shows, they'll have never seen a machine before. And again, all of a sudden, there's 100 of them all lined up for people to play.
Which I'm not just saying it because I'm biased, and we are all biased. It is an impressive thing, a pinball machine, when you see it. I mean, absolutely. People do say, "Wow," what's particularly when the lights are on and everything. People, all of them. Right, maybe not all of them. maybe there are one or two which aren't. I'll say it. CSI is an ugly looking thing, right? Yeah, it's a bit Photoshop. It's not a bad game to play. I'm it's a bad game. Yeah. Listen, the game Demolition Man's a good game, but it's not a good looking. You look at it. It's a picture from. It's like a movie trailer, isn't it? Really. But by and large, I think when the lights are flashing and everything, I do think that's an impressive thing. You talk about attracting new people, and I think this is a theme that we all know. And that I think the more people come on here, everyone's going to say the same thing, that we have all had experience of somebody saying, "Oh wow!" Particularly when they see a new one. "Oh, I thought this was an old thing." I think they think they're going to see something that's 40 years old, and then they see. You usually get the question of, "Wow, they still make these?" Yes. Yeah, which you can understand. Yeah. So yeah, there's quite a few of us in the team. There's quite a few on the forum. Sort of my role within the team is predominantly to help out at the shows, for setting up machines and sort of looking after them during the show. And obviously, the worst part of any show, if you've ever done one, is packed down at the end, where everybody's a bit tired, everybody's a bit grumpy, but there's 100+ machines to help pack down and get out of the door. But we're well oiled, we know what we're doing, and we've done quite a few shows in the past. And hopefully a lot more in the future. Well, you put a post on the forum yesterday I think, which was asking, encouraging people to show respect for the machines.
Yes.
What I know what you meant by it, but I didn't even entered my mind to just reiterate what you said on there again.
But it's basically that, if you go to a show and you see the pins there, they are privately owned machines that cost a lot of money at the end of the day. So sad, but it's true. There's always one or two who go to, less at Pinfest, it has to be said, because it is predominantly pinball people there. But there is always someone who, they might get upset with a game because they've had a drain at a bad time, and we've seen people put a boot to a machine leg, or, I mean, one of the worst things we'll see people do is they'll put a can of Coke on the glass while they're playing it. It's just like, the first thing you do is just walk over and take it off and just explain to them. I mean, yes, there's a beer seal on the machine, but you don't want to test it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. Is there a seal on it?
Yeah, if you look on most slot bars, there is like a
there is a bit of there's like a gasket, I guess, isn't there?
Yeah. So it's what I just call as a beer seal. So if beer's spilt on the glass, then it's not going to hopefully get into your game.
I couldn't imagine that anyone. See, in here, you're allowed some drinks in here, but they're over this set. You can't go over there with any,
Well, you know what you need to get? You need to get some pin gulps on your games.
Some what?
Pin gulps. If you've ever seen them before.
Are they the cup holder things?
Yes.
Okay.
Or more importantly, beer bottle holders.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Do you do you find you play better is there a cut-off? Do you play better when you've had some beers? Obviously 8 is too many, as I found out recently when I brought my mates down here to show them how great I was at pinball.
How did that go?
My mate, who doesn't play pinball but is a really good golfer, so he's got hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
He said, okay, just talk me through it. Yeah, I mean, he whipped me, but he'd hardly had anything to drink. I said, hold on a second, let me get back on there. I'm going to show you this. I didn't. I was awful. So 8 beers is too many. What's the optimum beer level that makes you better?
Personally, for me, I'd say 2, and it's a very slippery slope after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you find some days you just can't play?
Oh, many days.
Yeah,
many days where you're trying to hit a barn door and you can't with a ball. Yeah, it's annoying, but it's part of pinball, and everybody has days like that. Even I've seen Andy, I've seen Craig have bad games. They all do it. They are human after all, but obviously the number of bad games they have compared to other players is a lot less.
Yeah, they have bad games, not bad days.
Yes, yeah.
But mine is yesterday and today. It doesn't matter. There's nothing I can do about it. And I start looking for excuses. I polish my glasses a little bit more, and think I need to wake myself up. I'll have a sugary cup of tea or something. Work up, get some energy. No, I just can't.
I find the best thing to do is just not think about it. Just don't overthink it.
Well, it's actually something Craig said about I think he said he hasn't been playing much, but it's okay, he'll go back. And he said something about, obviously he's still got the skills there. I juggle, and when you were learning to juggle, it's the inclination is to keep practicing, and particularly when you're trying to go from 3 balls to 4 balls to 5 balls and things like that. And you practice. You actually could practice too much. I think some of the best sessions I've ever had is maybe when I've not juggled for a month, and actually I would just go back to it. Wow, okay, they're sort of flying out of your hands. And I think it's a similar type thing. I think it's just hand-eye coordination. As I said, some of the best games I've ever had on pinball have been when I haven't played for a week or so, and I go back.
I find exactly the same. Sometimes I've not played Spiderman for a week. Just turn it on, have a game, and all of a sudden you put your best ever score on without even trying. Yeah, it's crazy. That's pinball. That's pinball.
It is pinball. And I do wonder how much of that's gonna. I'm really interested to see this competition, because I've never something that even entered my consciousness. So I'm really interested to see how people react to playing a game for the first time and stuff like that. It's going to be really, really interesting. I think so. I want to go back and talk about the games you've owned, but obviously you're going to Pinfest. What's your plan for that? What are you looking forward to there?
Just for me, it's less about the comps this year and just to see people that you've not seen for a long time and have a beer and have a laugh and just chill. I will do the competition, but it's not at the forefront. I've had a look at. There's a couple of games in the list that I don't know, like Led Zeppelin. So I've just had a look at a couple of videos of what to do. I've cheekily asked Neil, what do you do? Just to put up a quick dirty score on it. But so I've got a rough idea. But again, you can watch all the videos you want. You don't know how a machine plays until you sit in front of it and try and shoot on it. But yeah, it's just. I mean, I'm really looking forward to actually for the Northern Lights Saturday night curry as well, which we're about 20 of us are going to as well.
Oh, yeah. I see. Yes. Is that the same venue every time? Is it?
Yeah, we did it last time, and it was one of the best curries I've ever had. And there was a really good crowd with a really good bunch of guys. I think last time there was maybe 14 of us, but word has spread this time around, so yet more people want to go.
Have you got any dirty southern softies infiltrating the Northern Lights Brigade?
We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, they might put on an accent or something and just try and.
Well, it doesn't make any difference in Daventry, does it?
No, that's true.
It's middle ground for everybody, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I certainly, I don't know. I've got nothing to compare it to. I don't. But
so you've never done a show? You've never done a show before?
Never, ever, ever.
Oh, you're going to be like a kid in a sweet shop.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, this is a relatively new experience for me. All of this, pinball malarkey. It really is, which is great. It's a real voyage of discovery. And this is a joke about not knowing who Craig is, but it's actually quite good asking these dumb questions because I get to find out an awful lot. I didn't know about the Northern Lights thing there, and the expo that you suggested that you spoke about. That sounds really interesting as well. So there's this whole culture and sort of world and then sub-worlds going off of it, and it is an amazing hobby. It really is. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's very niche, but once you sort of get into it, there's so many, as you say, there's so many different sub-levels of what people like to do with it. So some people just like to own and play. Some people like to mod, to do them up, to compete, do shows. It's just a great hobby to be in.
It is. It really is. I totally agree. So let's go back to your machine. So take us through some of the machines that you've owned, and I've got questions on those machines if you don't mind. But
go on. Is there any particular you want to know about?
Well, I tell you what. If you want, I can actually pull up your machine list here.
Yeah, it's on the signature, I think, isn't
it? Okay. So let's. Okay. I mean, so we got No Good Gophers was on there. I think Craig said best. Argue one of the best shots in pinball. He said 2. I think the other one was Spirit, quite possibly. And he said not the best game, No Good Gophers, but it had a very good shot on it.
Yeah, the hole in one. I totally agree with him. There is a No Good Gophers at the show, I believe.
There is, yeah.
And if you get a chance to play it. I really like the game because one of my favourite films is Caddyshack.
Yes.
And it's sort of it's an unofficial Caddyshack game, you could say. It's like with a golf humour to it. But as Craig already explained, there's the slam ramp that comes down. You hit the ball off that, it goes in the air onto there's like a plexiglass playfield at the top. There's the hole in one at the back of it, and it is like hitting the perfect golf shot if you can knock it into the hole in one. Yeah, it is one of the best shots in pinball. A hole in one.
Well, I've not played it, and I'm really keen. And there is one there, which I'm going to play it there, and hopefully I'll get to the point where you get to hit this shot. And I believe there's one for sale there as well, actually, which could be good if somebody likes it. Yeah. One of the things I want to do there's a number of things I want to do with this channel, but I'd like to get an archive of almost every shot that you can. I want to get a camera in the playfield and get every shot. So every machine I have here, I want to film each shot. So it's actually in the future when you're talking about this, I might actually have some footage which I can edit in to discuss the shot that we're talking about. I do actually think there's a video there as well at some point. The greatest shots in pinballs definitely has got to be something. But I do think you're going to need to get the Ultra HD camera, ultra slow mo camera in there to do it justice. Okay, so No Good Gophers. Spider-Man we've discussed. Lord of the Rings. Okay, so this is interesting because we've had to listen to how Andy's own Lord of the Rings didn't like it. Obviously, Craig's was loves the game.
Oh, it's amazing. I do have a little bit of a funny story with it though. Actually, I bought it off Wayne Johns, and really nice machine, really good condition. And I did it up a little bit. I put an LED OCD board in it. So, because the problem with Lord of the Rings is because it's a white star board system. So if you put in LEDs into it, they tend to ghost. I don't know if you sort of know that terminology.
I sort of do, but it's only recent. Tell us about the ghosting. What's ghosting, please?
So if you put LEDs into a game that doesn't support them very well, you could say that if an LED is flashing and there's another lamp that's in the same row or column on the lamp circuit, those will also sort of slightly pulse. So you've got your intended lamp flashing, but you've also got the other lamps slightly flashing, and it can be quite distracting
or confusing if you're going for a certain shot.
Exactly. Sure. So I got an OCD board from the States and put it in, and basically it means it sort of has its own circuit. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's got its own circuitry, so you can put your own LEDs in the game to make it look a bit brighter. Some people prefer it, some people don't, but I wanted to put them in, so I've got the board, and it just made the machine pop, but it also allowed the LEDs to sort of glow a bit more as well, rather than just be fully on or fully off. It allowed them to glow as well, which is a big part of the look of Lord of the Rings, where some of the lamps come on and off. So I did it off. Really, really liked the game. I like Craig, never got anywhere near Valinor. And then I was at a league meet, funnily enough, one day, and the wife rang me up, and she said, "Are you sat down?" I said, "You're pregnant, aren't you?" So you just know when you get that phone call. So it's funny. The first people who actually know that I was going to be a dad was not close family or parents or anything like that. It was people at the league meet that I was at. So it's funny how pinball works at times. Yeah. So the problem was at the time there was a Lord of the Rings set where there was going to be a nursery in the house.
Oh.
So I had to sell it.
The baby. You had to sell the baby.
Yeah. Okay. I sold one baby for another. You could put it that way. Yeah. So I sold it, unbeknownst to the wife. She played it now and again, but I didn't know at the time how much she liked that game.
I've heard this a number of times, by the way, not with Lord of the Rings, but with the missus likes a game and someone sells it. Oi, why'd you sell that? But sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. So unbeknownst to her, I sold it to somebody on the group, and Martin turned up one day, picked the machine up. She was out. Come to her home. Where's Lord of the Rings? I've sold it. Oh, I got an earful.
I bet.
Said, why didn't you sell the other game?
What was the other game?
I think it was World Poker Tour.
Quite right too. She's right. She's got a bloody good point.
But let's say Lord of the Rings was worth a lot more to sell than a World Poker Tour.
Sure.
When you got a child on the way, it's sort of money's at the forefront of your mind. So which one will get me more to put towards,
It's actually one of the benefits of this hobby. It has to be said that when a rainy day does come and an emergency strikes, you do actually have a saleable asset there. Which
funny how you say rainy day when I had the roof leaking at home as well. Yeah. Thanks for that.
Listen, do you know what? Actually, Lord of the Rings was one I had to sell when I got really bad. I was a basic used to do plumbing, used to do bathroom fitting. Really, I basically had a crash, and I dislocated my thumb in two positions, fractured my wrist. I couldn't work basically, or play pinball. But I had to, Lord of the Rings was what I had to go, and that's a different story. I'll tell at some point. So they can be helpful in that sense. I missed that game.
I'd say as well, Lord of the Rings has got one of the other best shots in pinball. If you have a think, what do you think it might be?
You're not talking about the ring shot.
Yeah, not just the ring shot, but the shot to destroy the ring, where you've actually got a ball trapped in the ring and you have to shoot the second ball into the first ball.
Oh well, yeah,
that's just amazing.
Oh, well, do you know what? I'd actually forgotten the way the magnets hold that ball there as well is very, very impressive. Yeah, that's.
But when you've got the music playing. And you can make that shot any other time in the game, but as soon as you have to destroy that ring, it goes from, it's the old barn door again.
It is. It is. It's absolutely crazy. And you do, because you have to initiate the mode through that game. You've got to hit that ring shot. Fine, all
Yeah,
game. It's an easy shot. It is an
yeah.
easy shot, but it's the same. That scoop shot on there is no different. It's an easy shot. Oh, but you get it when it's counting down. You've got 3 seconds to finish a battle. Oh, and it's going all over the place. It is. That's a massive part of pinball.
I'd say the worst shot for that is actually Do or Die on Iron Man. If you've ever seen that.
I played Iron Man once. I found it quite hard. I think Iron Man's quite a hard game.
That's what's great about it. It takes no prisoners. I had one myself, and basically a lot of the points you'll get from a good game on Iron Man will come from Do or Die, which basically means that you've started everything on one ball, which, if you imagine, is not an easy thing to do.
No.
And then obviously once you've achieved that, there's a 35 million point hurry up on the center spinner at the top of the game, which again, normal play, you can hit that shot without even thinking about it. Once it's worth 35 million points and it's counting down.
Yes.
It becomes very difficult. Let's say.
Next Generation's got, I can't even remember what it is now, but you start, there's something on there where there's points and you start losing them. I can't remember what it is, but I think there's probably a lot of games like that where you're starting to lose points or lose something if you don't make that shot quickly.
Yeah.
It's funny when they put the pressure on what it does to you. Great game, Lord of the Rings. Okay, so that's what else have we got? We've discussed Iron Man. Okay, let's talk about World Poker Tour then. Tell me, I'm not going to, by the way, but tell me why I should buy World Poker Tour.
Do you know what? It's actually a really good game.
Is it?
It is. It's another Steve Ritchie game, and it is. I think it was one of his earlier ones for Stern. If you like drop targets, you'll like it because it's got 16 of them all around the playfield.
Wow.
It's one of those games. It's very, very deep if you really get into it. There's a lot of modes. There's multi-board. The artwork is terrible. The music is terrible, but the gameplay is very, very good. There is one thing. If anybody was to buy it, there is. When you play it, it's as if you're playing in poker tournaments. So when you're shooting the ramps, there's like a display in the middle of the playfield, which shows your current hand in poker. And when you shoot the ramps, it advances how the number of cards you've got in your hand. On the default settings, when you shoot a ramp, there's a kicker that comes up to stop the ball on both ramps, and it totally kills the flow of the game. If you turn those kickers off, those posts off, and when you shoot a ramp, it comes all the way back to you straight away. It totally changes the game and makes it so much better. And it's also got an upper play field with like a ball lock up there as well, where it's got there's like 2 bars that sit at the top and with an octo in front of it. So you have to hit that so many times. Once you do so, it raises up and you can lock a ball behind it and it becomes like a little captive ball. So you have to shoot that to then start a particular multi-ball in the game, which you can then. And it's another one of those games that I really like because you can stack a lot of things with other things in the game. And it's a nice open play field. It's got, so once you take those posts off, it's got really good flow on it. At that point, you can tell it's a Steve Ritchie game.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's a really great thing about pinball. Yeah, talk about mode stacking, just the tactics that brings in. Even if you're not very good like me, you can do it. So sort of, I want to wait until I've got that mode before I initiate that multi-ball. And if you can do that, get that mode going. Oh, that one, for instance, that mode, the multi-ball and the Katana Rama or whatever it's called, you get all 3 at the same time, then you're dealing with some big points. So but you can muck it up, can't you? You can sort of strategically plan for it, and then and you hit that shot a bit early, and you sort of muck it all up.
Yeah, your best played plans can very easily come unstuck on most games if you just think, I've got this lined up, I'll line that up, won't be balls drained. Game over.
Yeah, but this is my theory. This is why, well, for me at least, some of my best games are the first time I ever play a game, because I haven't got a clue. I'm just trying to keep the ball live, and I'm just trying to let's have a go on that. Let's have a go on that, and you sort of accidentally accumulate points rather than being clever. I think I've got to switch this over to that flipper so I can make this shot sequentially in this order. You
I think what tends to happen is when you play a game for the first time and you don't think about it, you do all right. And then you'll go through a period where you just nothing's clicking, and you're overthinking it. And then once you can get past that, that's when you can really start to get good scores on the game.
Yeah, yes, but the certain games that I've noticed. I mean, combo games are wonderful. So, for instance, Elvira's not really very good for combos. It's not, well, if there are combos, I don't know about them. It's not really that. But you mentioned about Spiderman. It's certainly like that. And I remember Star Trek Next Generation, I would talk about 2 Steve Ritchie games there. And Jurassic Park was certainly like that. The combos on that. And there's something really rewarding if you say, okay, I've got to hit that ramp, that ramp again, then that ramp in that order, and I get whatever. Yeah. There's something wonderful in pinball about that. Certainly.
Have you played Metalica?
Yes, haven't I, Andy? If Andy's watching this, I whooped it on my first ever game I played it. I whooped it.
That for me has probably got the best ramp combos in pinball. It's just it's the flow of the shot, and it's the fact if you're listening for it as well. It's the metal ramps as well. So it's the sound of the ball as well going up the ramps and then back down the Y-forms and just comboing them ramps over and over. And it's not just doing it; you're also getting good progress towards the one of the modes in the game as well.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I played it once, and I was very good.
Yeah, very good game.
But it seemed to be relatively easy to understand. I remember it had the 4 lights on the playfield as well, which were obviously the modes or something. Which just seemed to be quite clear, even though it's the first time what I was meant to do. But to be fair, Andy was there saying hit that, and it fell into place. But yeah, those sort of games. Who did? But I was Borg, isn't it?
John Borg, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Right, let's have a look at what else you've had a fair few games, to be fair. Okay, just briefly, Walking Dead. What was your average game time on Walking Dead?
Not long.
Ball time, sorry.
Not long. It's the only new inbox I've had, and I'd love to have one again. Fortunately, a friend of mine who lives not too far away has just bought one, and went to help him set him up a few weeks ago. But it's such a good game, Walking Dead. Again, it's a good game for stacking things together as well. And it's funny one actually. When that first came out, I think it was in 2014. It's the year we actually had Gary Stern at Northern Lights for the show. Okay. Gary Stern actually came along, and it was funny because I took Spiderman to that show and I saw Gary playing it. And Gary did the classic no of anybody at one of these shows where he finishes a game. He didn't look behind him to see if anybody else was waiting a turn, and just carried on playing it again. And so, Gary, that's spear on it. Well, if he would have done that, I'd have been straight over telling him off. Get off my game. But yeah, they actually had some Walking Dead brand new there with the release code on it, and it's fair to say the release code was not good. Lyman hadn't quite worked his magic with it at that time. But again, Darren has an LE. And once I think it was one of the later code updates, and I went and played it and just thought, I've got to get me one of these games. So I ordered a Pro from Phil, and it was nice having that new inbox smell in your house for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure. I know people say it's an ugly game. I really like it, but then I like the series. I'm just not good enough to play it. It kills me, and it makes me. It actually makes me mad. It does. It makes me mad to see that thing rolling down and trickling down past the well walker, just knowing it's going to drain, and there's nothing I can do about it. And people said I had it all set up wrong. Oh, you got to get this app and you got to do this. Look, I'm happy to get spirit levels on the thing. I really am, but if we're down to the minute fraction of a degree, I'm thinking, well, this is probably not the game for me.
I always found there's a certain bump that you just have to do on the side of the machine when it was coming out of there, just to help it along to the left flipper sometimes.
Yeah. You're I'm trying to think. Yes, you're right. I didn't have it for long enough to know that, but there are a couple of games like that where you just know if you just give it a little nudge, it will do it. Yeah. I found. Actually, Judge Dredd's like that. The trouble with Judge Dredd was it was a wide body and there was a shot on there where if it was coming, you could do that. But trying to move those things, I'm not a big guy anyway, I certainly don't. People were talking about the slapping the side of the machine. You don't be slapping the side of a wide, not with my thin wrist, you don't be slapping the side of a wide body. That's for bloody sure. A game that does appeal to me far more, and again, another show that I love very much like The Walking Dead, it is Game of Thrones, and something I really want to own. So you had a Game of Thrones?
Yeah, and I didn't like it.
Oh
no, it was actually I traded Walking Dead for Game of Thrones. Because I played it at Tilt and I thought it was okay, but I never really got into it. But I just thought it seemed a fun game, but I'd never clicked with it. And it was through Game of Thrones I actually managed to get a borrow Metalica because I did a swap with Paul Rubens at Padlock Pinball. So we sort of met halfway, did a machine swap in a car park in Birmingham. Looks obviously very dodgy if anybody was walking past at the time. So two people turning up with vans, swapping machines, and one into the other, etc. So you're not just exchanging a little bag of drugs. God, these guys are just drug traffickers. Look at them. Look at the bodies you could fit in one of these.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I just didn't like Game of Thrones, to be honest. It was okay for a short time, but I sort of people going about the rules on it. I just found it sort of as wide as an ocean, but deep as a puddle in terms of what the rules were on the game.
What do you mean people go on about the rules? What do people say about the rules?
A lot of people say, "Oh, it's such great rules." I mean, it shot well. Don't get me wrong, but I just found it a bit too easy to get to the end of it.
That sounds like my type of game. To be perfectly honest with you, you're definitely selling it to me. Actually, maybe it's the right one for me to get.
Yeah, but you got to keep the glass on.
Absolutely. That's all right. I like to put my beer directly on the playfield anyway.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Stern's Star Trek, great game.
Yeah, again, that sort of shows that theme means nothing to me because I don't like Star Trek in the slightest.
Yeah.
I've never watched it. Wife doesn't mind it, but I never ever had any love for Star Trek. But I just really like the game because I think more than anything, it just reminded me so much of Spiderman.
How close is the layout? This is obviously what's said. I've seen it. The layout looks very similar. Yeah.
There's a few differences, but there's a lot of shots that are similar. The rules are different. But yeah, it's just got that great flow feel to it, especially if you can keep looping the side ramp on the game to get your warps.
Yeah, off the flipper, off the top flipper.
Yeah.
Because that's I mean, they both stay up there. To be fair, I know people might mock the pin side top 100, but it's there for a reason, and I think the more people vote on something, the better barometer you get. And if 1,000 people have voted on something or whatever, and it's still up there, then clearly it's not a pants game. And they both stay up there, Spider-Man and Star Trek. Clearly, heavily respected games. Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, the only data East about, and that was a good game.
Was it? Looks good.
Yeah, I had an alternate translate on it that really popped as well. Really good on that. It's quite a typical 90s game where it's all about modes and finishing all the playing all the modes to get to the end wizard mode. And there's a couple of good multi-balls in it as well. It's quite gruesome. The TMD animations on it.
Sure,
there is the Crypt Keeper laugh on that game will absolutely do your tits in though after a while.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, some games have got repetitive bits on them, haven't they?
Yeah.
I won't. I mean, we're running out of time here a little bit, and there's two or three. There's two or three games I want to. So I probably won't ask you about Wheel of Fortune, Roadshow.
By all means, ask about Wheel of Fortune.
I'm fine. I think we're fine. I think there's probably not enough time. We're running out of time. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, but there's others I do want to ask you about. Tell us about Batman 66. Yeah, I mean, this is interesting because this was like the Elvira. They didn't produce a pro, and is that a remake of Batman, right? It's Gomez. Have I got that right?
Yeah, it's kind of half and half. So it's got some of the features from Dark Knight. It's got the crane, it's got the scoop by the crane, and a couple of other parts, but to play it is a totally different game. Actually, it's one of my favorites.
Okay.
It's I got it in the house originally when lockdown started last year, and they had to get all the games out of Tilt. I went up to Tilt to bring it here,
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I had it for a short while, and yeah, there's one at Arcade Club near me as well, and it's one of my favorite games. It's an absolute beast.
Well, I think
Okay.
to look at it, it's up there. I think in terms of to look at a machine, the artwork and everything on it is absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
It's one of the best looking machines, no doubt about that. So, not had the pleasure of playing it yet.
I think is Steve Paget bringing his to Pinfest? I think he is.
Oh, that'd be great.
I think there is a Batman 66 coming.
I'd love to have a go on
yeah,
one.
It's a great game.
Not too much of a go on one, because I don't want to be tempted to get one because they're bloody expensive. Mind you, everything's bloody expensive now, isn't it? Another gorgeous looking pinball machine, and the first one of this flavour that we've discussed is Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, that was a borrowed machine. Quite a few.
Yeah.
So I borrowed that. Yeah, so I borrowed that off a friend of mine, AD, after one of the Northern Light shows, and it took just me to get it into the car, but it took 4 of us to get it out.
It's this again. Okay.
Yeah, I can do Stearns on my own. So get a Jersey Jack out of the car is it's a group effort, let's say.
Yeah.
We had it in the living room at the time. It was before we had this built, and it was fun, but the music just drove me mad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it on a loop? Was it sort of?
Yeah. As a game to play, yeah, I did enjoy it. Some people I think it's a very Marmite game for a lot of people.
But it's obviously got the full license. You're actually getting the proper music.
Yeah.
Because you're getting we represent the Lullaby League just over and over, are you? That sort of thing.
Not quite that bad, but
okay. Follow the yellow brick roads, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, after a while, it just sort of got into your head a bit, and it was grating away. So, but yeah, as a game to play, it was good, and there's a lot to do on it as well.
Yeah, I think something I'd look forward to. I think in terms of borrowing games, half the games on my list I've borrowed, and I think as money as it becomes more expensive, the hobby, which it looks like it is, I think actually borrowing games is possibly the way to go. Loaning games or something. I would. I don't want to drive up and down the country, but I would be, certainly with trusted people that are known within the community. I would be more than happy to swap Elvira for something else for 3 months or whatever. So, I think that might be the way. Actually, just exchanging some pinball machines so as you can, get a go on something else, something that maybe you fancy playing. But I mean, you've had so many here; it's unbelievable.
Just to ask you, what do you think of Elvira?
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's. I don't think I'll ever get to the end of it, but I think it's one of the. It's easy. That's the thing. It's easy, and I need an easy pen. Don't get me wrong. There's a drain. As a drain, that's it. I don't know why I didn't think about it. You said about giving Walking Dead a little nudge, as when it's coming out from just out of the pops past the house, give it a little nudge, give it a little shake.
I think just give it a slap on the right hand side.
Yeah, I'm still frozen in fear. I've just learned to move the machine a little bit, so baby steps. But yeah, I told the story when I spoke to Neil. I was so impressed with that game. I love the shots. I love the ramps. The ramps are easy to hit. The house is easy to hit. The
humor on it is great.
Oh yeah,
it's really good.
The old back door and all that sort of thing. It's not. Number one, my apron has gone missing, but I've just found it in Cologne. Honestly, I hope to get that back because it's cost an absolute fortune to get it airbrushed. So there's that, but also at launch, something's not happening. You know when you've got to launch it and you've got to drop it in the back of the house.
Yeah.
Sometimes it auto launches. So there's something there. There's a switch or something which is beyond my powers of dealing with it. So I might. I'm gonna have to get someone to come around. I might have to get Martin to come around and Martin to come around and fix it. Basically, Martin, I can't think of what a pinball company is. A nice guy, though, good guy, Polish guy, very good pinball maintenance guy. So I think, I bet I know what will happen. He'll come round and he'll he'll do that, and it'll take him 2 seconds, and he'll sort it. But I just, I'm no good at that sort of stuff. What did you think of Elvira apart from humour?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to play it recently at Paul Rubens. We had a little family trip to Legoland recently, so.
Oh, what, near me?
At Windsor. So it was an evening. I knew Paul was nearby, so I asked if I could nip round and play some of his games. So, to be honest, I went round and mostly played on Elvira because it's such a good game.
Yeah. How did you get on it?
Yeah, quite good. There was I just like seeing the different sort of, the B movie introductions and whatnot, and all the different film scenes they've got, especially when the Night of the Living Dead comes on it as well.
Yeah.
But I just, it was really, really, really fun game to play and to learn as well.
It's fun. It's a paint by numbers one though. It sort of does do it for you. I love the simplicity of it. It's, you're never in any doubt on what you've got to shoot. It's very well illuminated. It very much tells you what you've got to do. But it's got that moment. I don't mean like the pinball moment. I mean in terms of the pressurized moment. Did you get to Gapper angry on it?
Yes.
I mean,
with the voltage thing.
Yeah. So you've got to build that up four times, and you get to Gapper angry, and it just starts off. First of all, it demands one shot of you.
Yeah.
And the lights are flashing, and it's I don't know what's going on. The music's dramatic, and then you get that, and then you've got to hit that shot, and then that shot, and then the middle shot to get that jackpot, and it just builds up, and it's just pressure. And this is exactly the same as the ring. You're hitting that house all the time to initiate modes. But you put Gapper angry on there, and because it means something. If you lose the ball, it's all gone. It's a cruel. She's a cruel mistress, Elvira.
Yeah.
But I love the game, but it's certainly something I would never get rid of, particularly given the fact that you just can't get them. I was very lucky, really. I was either that or Guns N' Roses. I went with that. I've not ruled out Guns N' Roses. Far from it. I've got a feeling that once everything's sorted out and the dust settles, it's going to be a very, very good game. But I was pleased I got Elvira. Put it that way.
Yeah.
What were we going to say? Sorry.
So the Gapper angry. It reminds me of the Stiffometer on Scared Stiff. Obviously, another Elvira game as well.
I think there's a lot of the other Elvira games. They've sort of paid homage to it. Quite a lot throughout the thing, which is, and rightly so. And I think it was the same designer, wasn't it? I think you don't see much of him, the guy that designed it.
Not sure who it was. Yeah, not sure.
I can't think of his name. I think it's the same guy, but he doesn't. I think that's it. That's all I've seen from him in recent years. So he pops up, does this game, and then disappears again. Which is a strange one. He perhaps should do some more, but that's fantastic. Let's just maybe we've got time just for one more game, and if there's anything else you just wanted to discuss before we go with, actually something that is okay. You mentioned it at the start. Just tell us why Twilight Zone is constantly so highly rated.
I think it's a classic game, and I think what helps is there's a lot going on it. It's also got one of my other favourite shots in pinball, which is similar to one of your favourite shots, is the lock shot, which I find quite similar to the sniper shot on Judge Dredd, where it's sort of right at the back, right-hand side of the playfield. It's just a classic game, and it's got such a classic wizard mode at the end of it for Lost in the Zone as well. And I think it's a really good competition game as well. Because one of the funny things you'll always find is if it's in a competition and there's a group of players about to play a game of Twilight Zone, and they know what they're doing, you'll see them all looking at the gumball because they're all looking for seeing where the Powerball is if it's in there.
Well,
because they all want it, basically.
Okay, so you are into the realms of no. That's reason enough not to have it there. But what do I know? What is your favourite shot in pinball then? Seeing as this is certainly going to be a theme.
There's too many to mention. I say probably the best overall would be similar to what Craig said was the hole-in-one shot, but I think there's just too many to say there's only one best shot. I mean, one of my other favourite games is there's an early 80s solid state game from Williams called Warlock.
Okay.
Now it's a rare game. I've only ever seen it twice. One was at David Dutton's, and the other other was at Pinburg. And it's quite a typical game of its era where it's a lot of spinners and a lot of drop targets, but it's got an orbit shot which goes through 2 spinners. And it's got that classic early 80s sound effects on it, sort of like a Robotron kind of,
sure,
sort of the early electronic sounds to it. And when you make this orbit shot that goes through 2 spinners, the noise it makes when it goes through one is great, but then it sort of gets amplified when it goes through the second one, and it's such a rewarding shot to hit, especially if the spinners are fully lit for full points. But yeah, there's just too many to. I mean, there's a couple of really good ones on Deadpool behind you as well.
Yes.
Obviously, you've got the what do you call it? The snip shots.
Oh, I love that shot.
It's so unique to hit off a target to go up a ramp. Yeah,
so simple.
And then you've obviously got the ball launch lock shot as well, where you hold the left flipper down to lock a ball immediately. It's not easy to make, but that's such a satisfying shot to hit.
It is satisfying. It is.
Yeah.
I wish it's the only, and it's not a criticism. Again, I love that game. I bought it back. It's I sold it and got it back basically. That's how much I love that game. It's just the fact of, so when you do that, you do the orbit and then you lock it, which is the Ninja Apocalypse. So orbit and then katana ramp, and it's so. I think the animation, because he runs through chopping all the ninjas up and it shouts out Ninja Apocalypse and does all this. But I almost want more. It can't ever become a combo. It's the end of it because it locks it in the hilt of the sword. Small little criticism, but it's fine. It's not a flow game. That's not what Deadpool is. Deadpool's a fast and fun game, which is why I'll be looking forward to taking that to Spider-Man, which would be nice to have a flow game in here in that sense. Elvira's good, but I wouldn't call it a flow game. I've got to be honest with you. It's something I've noticed actually when you get the plastic ramps. So we've got a hole that they drop out of at the end of the plastic ramps. It's got a little bit at the end of the ramp. It's got a little rubber.
Yeah, like a little stopper.
Yeah. So I find the ball hits the rubber and then falls down the hole. So it almost takes a little second. Whereas if you've got the wire forms, it just falls straight down. And so actually there's just a little bit more. Again, a tiny little criticism on my favourite game, but silly little things like that, really.
Yeah. But I say it's Spider-Man's obviously got the straight drops down, so you got to be ready.
I'm ready
when it's coming down.
I'm ready, but not until after Pinfest. So and I've got Star Wars coming, as you know, so we'll have a bit of a Steve Ritchie fest. But Martin's due to be delivering the Star Wars. I've got a feeling that Star Wars is being delivered here an hour before I leave for Pinfest or something like that. So I probably get a chance to enjoy it. It'd just be sod's law. I'm just
take it with you.
It's not mine. It's not mine. I can't take it with me. I'm just sort of mindful because we have quite a lot of email exchanges. Was there anything else you wanted to discuss that I've missed out or forgotten?
Nothing immediately now.
Okay, well we'll get you on again, mate. It's great to get your opinion on games, and to be fair, Ian, as well, you're going to be so involved in obviously Pinfest as well in terms of I'd like to hear about your curry as well, of course, but also when you've got the Northern Lights thing, which shall not be mentioned at the moment. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Your secret squirrel Northern Lights thing, which may or may not be happening. Then maybe pop on again and we can discuss that. It'd be really good.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks, mate. Just hang in the background here a second so I can say goodbye. But thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. That was Ian. Now, did we cover a lot of games or what? I feel we went through an awful lot of games and probably learned how to get a pinball machine down the stairs, which was an education for me because when I did go and buy that Star Trek Next Generation, I didn't even know that it was a possibility that you were able to take a back box off. So there was, bear in mind, it's a wide body. There was me and my mate Luke. We actually did bring the Star Trek Next Generation down a flight of stairs in an annex. I don't know how we mentioned it and managed it. Sorry, it was quite something. But anyway, don't do that. Definitely do take the back box off. Label all the wires. I found out. Thanks again. That's number 6. We've got a couple of people lined up for a couple more before we go to Pinfest. I'm looking forward, of course, we're looking forward to Pinfest. We're going to be carrying on doing more of these. There's actually another little series that I want to do on this. There's a few things I want to do on this channel, and I think I've got one coming up, which will be hunting Mr. Sinister or something like that. I'm going to try and get to wizard mode, or one of the wizard modes on that game. So hopefully that should, even if you just laugh at how crap a player I am, that should be something. I'm sure I'll never get there, but it should be an interesting journey. Thank you very much. I'm going to say goodbye to you all now. So goodbye. Please, if you haven't done so already, please do click the subscribe button. Give it a thumbs up if you would, please. Share it if you're on the Facebook for pinball forums or anything like that. If you could share these videos, that would be very, very much appreciated. Until next time, thank you very much indeed.